Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar on retirement planning. My name is Josh. I'm with California Coast Credit Union, and I will be your moderator for the webinar today. Just a few things before we get started. Just want to mention that everyone is going to be on mute during the duration of today's presentation. However, if you do have any questions in regards to the content or in regards to anything that is related to CalCoast Financial Services or any of the products or services that we have to offer, please feel free to ask those questions in the question box on the right-hand side of your screen inside that panel under the GoToWebinar software panel there. So please, again, feel free to ask those questions, and we'll answer those toward the end of the presentation today. We also, at the end of today's presentation, will be offering an evaluation form. It's electronic. You could take them to fill that out at the end of today's session. We would greatly appreciate that. That evaluation form will also be sent to you through the email system within the next couple of days. So if you cannot fill it out at the end of today's session, that's no problem. You can always fill it out when you receive it by email. We are also going to be sending out a copy of today's recording to all of you. So once the session is completed, within the next couple of days, you will see an email that has the session recorded. So that way you can go back and get any of the details that you might have missed. And then we also have the availability of our CalCoast Financial Services team at any time. They are available, then you can schedule an appointment with them. You can actually visit the link that's in the chat box and schedule an appointment anytime. So today we'll be talking about the home stretch, 7 things you need to do in the decade before you retire. It's a lot of great information, and to present this info today, we have David Lotz. He's with our CalCoast Financial Services team. He's an advisor that has been in the industry for over 25 years now and is originally from Mexico City, but currently lives with his family in Chula Vista. They've lived there for 17 years now. And David is an expert in all things retirement, but he specializes in retirement planning, estate planning, and can answer a lot of the different questions that you might have in regards to all things surrounding your retirement plan. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to David.
Thank you, Josh. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. So as Josh mentioned, today we're going to be talking about the 7 things you need to do in the decade before you retire. Have you ever been or watched a foot race? As the runners turn the last corner and start their final sprint, the intensity ratchets up. This part of the race is known as the home stretch. During this critical stage, the last thing a runner wants to do is stumble with the finish line in sight. As you get to the point in your career where you can start to see the retirement finish line, you want to make sure that you don't stumble either. Today, we're going to look at 7 things you need to do in the decade or so before you retire. My hope is that by identifying potential hurdles as well as strategies for success, you will feel better prepared as you sprint through your home stretch towards retirement. Here are 7 things we'll discuss today to help you prepare. The first one is determine when the time is right. Then take an aim at your retirement target. Maximize your nest egg. Get a portfolio checkup. Create a Social Security strategy. And build a retirement income stream. And the last one, look beyond the money. Let's get started with number 1. One of the first things you'll need to do when preparing for retirement is to determine when the time is right. To do that, let's look a little bit of history of retirement. Otto von Bismarck was the Chancellor of Germany in the late 1800s and is often credited with creating the concept of retirement. To help combat pressure from socialist opponents during a period of high unemployment, Otto implemented what was called the Old Age and Disability Insurance Law. This law provided a state pension for anyone who reached the age of 70. But not that many people actually took advantage of the program. Why? Because at that time, the average life expectancy was only 43.5 years. Here in the United States, Social Security was introduced in 1935 and defined 65 as the retirement age. Despite the passage of over 80 years since then, the age of retirement has remained largely unchanged. At the same time, life expectancy has dramatically increased. As of 2019, life expectancy reached about 79 years. Early on, someone would be lucky to reach retirement age. Today, people can easily spend 20 years or more living in retirement. So what age do you think you'll retire? This critical question is not that easy to answer. When Morningstar asked people in their 40s and 50s to estimate when they'd retire, they noticed some surprising results. For example, if someone that thought they'd retire at age 55, the research showed that on average, they were actually most likely to retire at age 58. This may be because of things like the cost of healthcare. Don't forget that those retiring early will need to cover their own medical costs since Medicare doesn't start until age 65. Perhaps their nest egg wasn't big enough and they didn't feel ready. Or maybe they had unexpected or higher expenses than they anticipated. For someone who thought they'd retire at age 65, the research showed that they were most likely to retire at age 63. This may be due to things like poor health of theirs or of a loved one, unemployment, or on the positive side, perhaps they met the retirement goal early. In all the research, the common factor that was the age 61, and the adjustment is roughly half a year from every year above or below 61. Anyone who thought they'd retire younger was drawn up towards 61, and those who plan to work longer will pull back to age 61. In the broad study, no factor other than the age 61 had any predictive power of when people actually retire. Not job stress, physicality, income, health, or education level. It's good to know that we may not retire exactly when we planned, but when we do, people actually retire. This chart shows that a large group of people retire between age 61 and 65. Ultimately, as you determine the right time to retire, it's best to think of it as a guidepost and not an absolute. You may have to make adjustments as you confronted with the life's twists and turns. One important factor to consider when it comes to deciding when you'll retire is whether you need to plan as a couple. To explain, let's look at an example. Imagine a couple who married a few decades ago, in 1979. The average age men first got married was 24, and for women, it was 22, an age gap of 2 years. Interestingly, when today's age has increased, the average age gap has remained fairly constant at about 2 years. Fast forward to the day the husband is ready to retire at age 65. If his spouse is not covered by a workplace medical plan and is younger than 65, she won't be eligible for Medicare and will need to pay out of pocket for healthcare insurance. Move ahead in time to the point he reaches age 83. The average life expectancy for a 65-year-old man is in 2020. At this point, if he passes away, his spouse will be living on her own. Because women tend to live longer on average, and she was younger than when they were married, the wife is likely to spend 5 more years on her own in retirement. And these are just averages. For some, the gaps will be significantly wider. Thus, when couples think about retirement, life expectancy and age differences are important factors. Over the coming decade, you need to be prepared for many important age-related milestones. From starting catch-up contributions at age 50 to taking required minimum distributions at age 72. You have lots to do, but it's doable. We'll discuss some of these important milestones today. Working together with your financial advisor, you can determine how to prepare as you sprint through the home stretch into retirement. Now that we've discussed the timing of retirement, let's look at one of the biggest questions people have when deciding if they're ready to retire. How much do I need? To do this, we'll look at 3 rules of thumb that can be used to help aim your target retirement age. The first rule of thumb is that you need to save enough to generate 70 to 90% of your pre-retirement income. Why will you need less in retirement? Certain costs are likely to go down once you retire. Perhaps you'll finish paying off your mortgage, or you'll spend less commuting or dry cleaning work clothes. Many people spend less on food because they finally have time to prepare meals. But these reductions can be countered by other costs that go up in retirement. Many retirees are no longer covered by a workplace medical plan, and even Medicare premiums and copays can rise as age and need more health care. Hopefully you'll spend more on travel, or if you spend more time at home, your utility usage will probably increase. Not to mention an aging home requires more maintenance. These costs that go up or down may offset each other, but 2 big things that likely reduce your paycheck while working go away when you retire. First, you won't need to pay Social Security, Medicare, payroll taxes anymore. And second, you'll no longer be saving for retirement. These are why many people require less income in retirement. The second rule of thumb is that you should save multiples of your salary by age. Let me show you what I mean. As you get older, you should have a higher multiple of your salary saved for retirement. For example, if you are making $100,000 at age 55, you should have retirement savings 6 to 8 times that, or $600,000 to $800,000. See where you fall on this chart and think about how much you currently earn and have saved for retirement. Are you on track? The third rule of thumb is that you need enough retirement savings to generate a desired income using a 4% withdrawal rate. Let's look at what that means. Here are several different desired annual income amounts that you, once retired, may want to generate. Assume while you are retired, you have your savings invested in something conservative that returns 1.5% a year. To provide the desired income annually amounts for over 20 years, including yearly increases for inflation, you'll need to have a minimum of this much saved at the time of your retirement. Instead of a 1.5% return, what if you were able to invest your savings and get a 5% return? Notice that the minimum amount you'll need to have saved when you start retirement is lower. In this example, the higher return means that the total savings you need at retirement can be lower. Let's follow. As you enter home stretch before retirement, you'll have the ability to save more than ever before. The U.S. government offers multiple tax advantage options for you to increase your retirement savings. Let's take a look at some of them now. Let's follow a hypothetical couple as we will look at maximizing your nest egg. Imagine the husband is 52 years old and has an annual income of $150,000. The wife is 50 and keeps busy as a stay-home mom. When it comes to saving for retirement, one of the most common ways to do so is through a workplace plan such as a 401k. Here are the 2020 maximum annual contribution limits for various plan types. Assuming he participates in a 401k plan, that means he can contribute $19,500. In addition, many employers offer matching contributions. A common company match is 50 cents for every dollar up to 6% of your total salary. That would mean up to $4,500 of additional contributions for our couple. Here's where we're getting old and can actually help. If participating in a workplace plan and you're 50 or older, you can do what's called a catch-up contribution. In the example, this means saving an additional $6,500 per year in the 401k plan. Many people assume that if you participate in a workplace savings retirement plan, you're not eligible to save using a tax-advantaged individual retirement account. That isn't always the case. If your income falls within the ranges listed here, you could also participate in a traditional or Roth IRA. For example, since our couple is married and has income less than $206,000, they can contribute $6,000 to an IRA. In addition, because he's over age 50, $1,000 more can be saved as a catch-up contribution. Another way to save is through a spousal IRA. Even if one spouse doesn't have earned income, the working spouse can contribute to an IRA on their behalf. A spousal IRA also has income limits, but as you can see, because of our couple makes less than $206,000, they can add $6,000 to a Roth spousal IRA. And because the non-working spouse is 50, they are also eligible for a $1,000 catch-up contribution. If our couple was able to take advantage of every opportunity we covered, they could save $44,500 a year in tax-advantaged retirement accounts. Saving that much for 15 years and earning a 6% return over that period would add over $1 million to the retirement nest egg. Now, this only represents what can be saved in tax-advantaged retirement accounts. You can save in regular accounts as well. Every individual couple has unique circumstances and may not be able to use all the savings opportunities mentioned. Working with financial advisors, you can identify the best strategies to help you maximize your retirement savings. As you get closer to retirement, it's a good time to take a look at your portfolio and take it in for a checkup. Today's workforce is more mobile than ever. In a 2017 report, the Bureau of Labor Statistics found that workers born between 1957 and 1964 switched jobs on average of 12 times by age 50. Today, the most common way people save for retirement is through a workplace plan called a 401k. In fact, a recent report showed that 71% of jobs include a 401k or similar retirement plan. And many of these retirement plans are structured with automatic enrollment as a way to increase retirement savings. It's estimated that over 60% of plans automatically enroll participants. The convergence of these three factors means there are a lot of retirement accounts that get created and then forgotten, abandoned, or at the very least left behind at previous employers. It may be a good idea to consolidate your old retirement accounts. Why? The challenge with multiple retirement accounts is that it's difficult to get a clear picture of our overall asset allocation. For example, if your retirement account at your current employer looks like this, you might think you've got a good mix of stocks and bonds in your portfolio. But what about the accounts left behind at prior jobs? If they were open when you were younger, they may be more heavily weighted towards stocks, as they may have been an appropriate investment when retirement was a distant thought. If you were to combine all of your accounts, your total asset allocation may be very different than you originally thought. In fact, the Employee Benefits Retirement Institute looked at a few years ago and found that who held more than one retirement plan tended to be overallocated to stocks. Being too heavily invested in stocks may put you at risk if you are nearing retirement. Let's look at an example to explain. Let's assume you have 3 years from your retirement target date, and you have $900,000 saved with the goal to reach $1 million. You've done well with your stock portfolio and decide to continue contributing at a past rate of $10,000 per year, about $830 per month for your last 3 years of work. If you assume you'll earn an 8% average annual return for your stocks, it appears you'll meet and exceed your goal. You might even start to think you'll get to retire early. But what if it just happens to be the year 2000 and you can see the tech bubble burst and the stock market plummeted? So instead of growing, your retirement portfolio tumbles, leaving you more than $400,000 short of your retirement goal. In other words, you stumble just before the finish line. When you're younger, volatility matters less because you and your portfolio have time to recover. However, when you're only a few years from retirement, a sharp drop in your portfolio can have a severe impact on your retirement plan. But what if you'd invested half of your portfolio in bonds? While your account still dropped some, you would have ended up with the 3-year period in a more manageable place. In fact, if you kept working, it would have taken you only 12 additional months to reach your original retirement goal. Meanwhile, the stock portfolio would have taken nearly 4 additional years to hit your retirement goal. At the end of the spectrum are investors who jump out of the market due to volatility. Let's take the same blended portfolio of stocks and bonds for the last slide and imagine a similar scenario. You're 3 years from retirement and 100,000 away from your goal. This time, however, it's the end of 2007, and the global financial crisis is about to erupt. By February 2009, as your portfolio drops, you may be tempted to say, this market volatility is too much. You convert your portfolio into a conservative investment like Treasury bills, which offer a fixed rate of return and guaranteed interest payments and principal value at maturity. While conservative investments are generally less risky than other asset classes, they are also typically generating lower returns over time. While, in fact, if you stayed invested in T-bills until retirement target date, you would have been well short of your $1 million goal. On the other hand, by staying invested in the blended portfolio, you would have hit your target retirement goal on time. One of the challenges of jumping out of the market is that you also have to get back in. Otherwise, you may never reach your goal. So the moral of the story is that as you approach retirement, you don't want to be too aggressive or too conservative. You can work with your financial advisor to consolidate your retirement accounts and determine an appropriate allocation for your portfolio. One last tip when doing your portfolio checkup, it's a good time to confirm the beneficiary information on all your retirement accounts. If the accounts were established long ago, they may need to be updated with a new spouse, younger children, or stepchildren. If you set up a living trust, you may want to name the trust as a beneficiary in your retirement accounts. Here's something else that you may not be aware of. In most cases, the beneficiaries listed on your retirement accounts override the beneficiaries listed in your will or trust, even if the will or trust is newer. Social Security may be a primary source of income for retirees, and that's why having a strategy for dealing with this important retirement program is essential. One myth that seems to be persistent is that Social Security will not be there when you retire. Let's look at why that's not very likely. Since the early 1980s, total Social Security revenues have been greater than the benefits paid out. A surplus, often referred to as the Social Security Trust Fund, has built up over the years and totaled nearly $2.9 trillion at the end of 2019. However, starting in 2021, it is projected that the Social Security will begin running a deficit as total revenues are estimated to be less than the benefits promised. This trend is expected to accelerate in the 2020s as more baby boomers retire. To make up for future deficits, Social Security will start drawing from the trust to pay the full benefits as it has promised. The current estimates predict the surplus will only last until 2035. Sensationalist headlines often mischaracterize this as the end of Social Security. But this doesn't mean Social Security is bankrupt. Even with the surplus depleted, Social Security will still collect payroll taxes from workers and employers. The latest estimates show that these tax collections will allow Social Security to continue paying about 79% of the program of the benefits promised. Of course, a 25% cut in benefits might be hard to swallow for many of us. It doesn't mean Social Security will completely go away. Fortunately, there are many possible solutions to fix Social Security. One option is to make up the gap and to increase payroll taxes by an estimated 3.21%, split between employees and employers. So while it continues to be a hot topic, we may be not able to see action from the government until it becomes a crisis. There are options that can keep Social Security funded well into the future. It's important to understand some of the basics of how Social Security works and how you can maximize this program for your personal situation. One of the things you need to know is your full retirement age, or also referred to as FRA. This is the age you are eligible for full retirement benefits from Social Security. It's determined by the year in which you were born. Regardless of your FRA, what is the earliest age you can start collecting your normal Social Security retirement benefits? The youngest age you can receive retirement benefits from Social Security is 62. You can file for benefits anytime between 62 and 70. But what's the advantage of waiting longer to receive Social Security? The longer you delay, the more you get. Let's look at an example. In 2020, these are the maximum amounts a person can get receiving Social Security retirement benefits from age 62 to 70. To qualify, you would have needed a very high income for a long time, hitting the Social Security payroll tax cap of 35 years. You can see that delaying the start of Social Security benefits would increase the amount of monthly income you generate. While it would be nice if we all qualified for the maximum amount, the reality is that very few people do. For someone with a history making an average income in the US, these are the monthly Social Security benefits one could expect in 2020. Again, notice that the older you are when you start taking Social Security, the higher the benefit amount. Delaying is one way to increase your retirement income, but you might also be thinking it could be tough to live just on Social Security. The more you earn at work, the less Social Security you will replace. As you can see, if you make $50,000 per year, Social Security is designed to replace about 45% of your pre-retirement income. If you move further out to $150,000 in income per year, Social Security will only replace 27% of your pre-retirement income. So while Social Security isn't likely to disappear, you may want to work with your financial advisor to estimate how much income it would take to generate and develop a strategy for when to start receiving your benefits. To pay for living expenses in retirement, you'll likely need a combination of income stream from Social Security and other income sources. Since there's no such thing as a retirement paycheck, let's look at how you can convert your retirement savings into income. One basic strategy is to take your retirement savings and invest it in something that generates interest payments. One example is to invest in money market accounts or CDs. But these accounts don't offer much in return. In fact, A $500,000 investment in a money market savings account would only generate about $83 a month, perhaps enough to cover a trip to the grocery store, when your CDs are only slightly better, generating $142 per month. They may provide enough to pay a utility bill, but neither of these investments historically generated enough for most people to live on. There are other income-generating investments that have offered higher yields. These investments come with additional risks, but also have historically provided significantly more income. Another strategy for creating a stream of retirement income is to take out systematic withdrawals. A systematic withdrawal sells a small portion of your overall retirement portfolio at regular intervals to generate income. Imagine you had $500,000 in your retirement account and purchased 100,000 shares of an investment at $5 per share. Now let's look at what might happen if you plan to take a $1,500 a month systematic withdrawal. In good months, when your retirement portfolio goes up in value, you sell fewer shares to generate your monthly income. However, in months with your retirement portfolio goes down in value, you'll need to sell more shares. Each of these investment strategies we discussed for providing income in retirement has its pros and cons. Using a portfolio of income-producing investments may help your nest egg stay intact by only distributing income rather than your original retirement savings. However, many income-producing investments vary in the amount that they produce on a monthly basis. Creating a systematic withdrawal plan can help you ensure that you get consistent income each month. But this type of plan always runs the risk of eating up into your principal, especially when the markets drop. All investments involve risks, including the possible loss of principal. But by working with your financial advisor, you can explore these strategies and others that may help you generate the retirement income you need from your investment portfolio. The last thing you need to do before you retire is look beyond the money. Let me explain what this means. When it comes to retiring, money is important. It provides opportunity. But it isn't everything. If you're 45 to 55 years old and feeling a bit down, you're not alone. This is when people report feeling the most unhappy in life. The stresses of work, kids, aging parents, health, and many other factors tend to weigh most heavily on this age group. It's probably not a coincidence that the term midlife crisis is also associated with this age range. The good news is that for many, it's going to get better. Study after study has shown that on average, as people get older, they become happier. This trend has been observed across gender, income levels, education, culture, and geography. The U-curve of human happiness has been attributed to lower stress levels, less regret, less concern for status, and having lots of experience regulating your emotions. Research from the Journal of Consumer Research concluded, as people age, they tend to savor the familiar, peaceful, ordinary events that comprise their daily lives and reflect who they are in the present. Having money may make retirement easier, but as the saying goes, it doesn't buy happiness. Several studies have shown the most important factors that determine happiness in retirement are health, friendships, and family. It's important to take steps to ensure that you remain healthy. Maybe this means joining a gym, taking more walks, or doing yoga. It's been said that all the money in the world doesn't matter if you're not healthy enough to enjoy it. Having strong friendships and good relationships with family has been shown to boost both mental and physical health. One study showed that socially isolated individuals face health risks comparable to those of smokers. Beyond health and relationships, it's important to have a sense of purpose. The island of Okinawa in Japan is known for having one of the longest life expectancy rates in the world. While there are likely many factors that contribute to this, one of the reasons may be the concept of ikigai. Ikigai is a word that roughly translates into your reason for being, or the reason you get out of bed each morning. It also has been described as a place where the answer to 4 important questions overlap. What do you love? What does the world need? What can you do to get paid for? What are you good at? People in Okinawa might think the concept of retirement doesn't make sense. You don't wake up one day and stop doing everything. You just change what you are doing. For people who plan properly for retirement, this may mean being able to focus less on getting paid for things and more on things that you're good at, that you love, and that what the world needs. You don't just need a retirement plan, you need a retirement living plan. With longer life expectancy and better health during those later years, people can do a lot during retirement. New retirees often go through a phase of increased travel and leisure activities, giving themselves a reward for all their hard work. They also may spend more time on their favorite hobbies or do the things that they have always wanted to do but didn't have time to do them. Some rechannel their talents and energies into starting a business, pursuing a secondary education, or devoting significant hours volunteering for philanthropic purposes. However you spend your time, it's important that you do something that you find meaningful. Here are some impressive accomplishments of people who focused on having a retirement living plan. Peter Roget invented the thesaurus at age 73. Colonel Harlan Sanders started Kentucky Fried Chicken at age 65. Madonna Buter, also known as the Iron Nun, began training for triathlons in her late 80s and completed an Ironman triathlon at age 82. Grandma Moses began painting at age 76. Yoshiro Miura became the oldest person to reach the summit of the Mount Everest at age 70, and then reset the record when he summited again at age 80. In short, retirement is wonderful if you have 2 essentials: much to live on and much to live for. That's why it's important that you are here today, shown that you want to make and take steps forward to be prepared. So today we've talked about how to be prepared for the home stretch. Specifically, we looked at 7 things you need to do in the decade before you retire. Determine when the time is right. We talked about the challenges of setting a rigid age when you retire, and discuss when you need to plan for why you need to plan for a surviving spouse. We talked about taking aim at your retirement target. We looked at rules of thumb you can use to determine how much you'll need when you retire. We talked about maximizing your nest egg. We saw how you can use catch-up provisions and tax-advantaged retirement savings accounts to maximize your nest egg. We also talked about getting a portfolio checkup and how it's important to consolidate your retirement accounts and make sure that they're all allocated correctly. We also talked about the importance of updating beneficiaries and trust documents. We also discussed about creating a Social Security strategy and how your age and income affects the benefits you will receive from Social Security. We also talked about creating a retirement income stream, why building a retirement income stream using income-generating investments and a systematic withdrawal plan may work. We also discussed the pros and cons of doing that. And the last one was looking beyond money. We highlighted why you need to create a retirement living plan that focuses on health, relationships, and having a sense of purpose. There's a lot you may want to do, and probably you should do, as you sprint through the home stretch before retirement. That's why working with a financial advisor may be one of the biggest investments you can make. They can help you address the specific questions and needs you have for each of the 7 things we discussed and more. Thank you very much for your time today. And now, Josh, we can open it up for questions.
All right. Thank you so much, David. We do have a few questions that have come in, so if you don't mind, I'll just start sending those your way.
Okay.
First question is, how much can I make without penalty while taking Social Security?
How much can you make without penalty? Well, that is, I would love to be able to answer that question, but that would be a more of a tax-related question. And I'm, as you may know, I'm not a tax advisor, so I would not be able to elaborate on how much is the max income someone could earn without. I'm assuming that they're referring to the penalty to have to pay taxes, because there's not really a penalty. It probably is when it would become taxable. So that would be a question that would probably be better suited asking their tax advisor.
Great, thank you. Also, what is a portfolio checkup and how much does that cost? And what documents do I need to have to prepare for this?
That's an excellent question. So there's no cost to do a portfolio checkup. We have the ability to do it online. So all we would do is recommend getting in touch with one of the representatives in your area and discussing that. What we would need is copies of the most recent investments to determine what your current allocation, to see if it's in line with your current risk tolerance.
Great. Also, another question, will my Social Security benefit be impacted by any required minimum withdrawal from my IRA?
No, it shouldn't. Now, those required minimum distributions, as we know, will be taxed as ordinary income, so it could impact the amount of total income you have, which I would recommend that they discuss that with their tax advisor as well, so they can be better prepared on how to handle the tax implications of those distributions.
Okay, great. Looks like we don't have any other questions coming in. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. I want to thank David for the presentation today and all the great information. And remind everyone that this webinar will be sent to you so that you can take a look at a recording and review any of the information that you might have missed or that you might want to review again. It'll be there at your disposal. You should receive a link to the recording within the next few days. So with that, I want to wish everyone a safe and healthy holiday season, and I guess a happy new year. We'll see you next year for our next webinar. Keep an eye out for emails coming out to announce the date and time and topic of our webinar series for 2021. But until then, happy holidays, everyone, and have a great day.